Yes, a lot. So I wrote down in my notes from our meeting, April 8th, and then Chief Deputy Lindquist sent out an email says,
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the news briefing for this Wednesday. Our County of Monterey Environmental Health Division is continuing its work alongside our state and federal partners at the Moss Landing facility for recovery. We're very pleased to have Rick Encarnacion with Environmental Health here to talk about the latest of what is happening there and within his department. Hi, Rick. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you, Maya. Good afternoon, everybody. Rick Encarnacion, Director of Environmental Health for the County of Monterey. We're your local health inspectors. We conduct inspections and respond to emergencies from the health department perspective. We continue to partner with our local, state, and federal stakeholders and partners with regards to the Moss Landing battery power plant fire incident, ensuring that there's going to be proper cleanup and actions taken by the responsible party to address this issue. So far, everything seems to be moving along as we continue to gather the information. We have our website updated since last week. The last update was on the 13th of March. I'm going to post where people can get the official information as well as submit any concerns or complaints to our department. So aside from that, everything appears to be going well. Open lines of communication and ensuring that at the local level, we're providing the appropriate response. And then with that, I'll be ready for any questions. Thank you.
Rick, thank you very much. And I'm encouraging folks to go ahead and put questions in chat if they have a question for Rick. One question that I did get prior to the briefing is there's still a lot of interest in the timeline for recovery. A lot of people are already looking ahead into later steps of recovery. So they're wondering, what does it look like for debris removal? And I'm wondering if you could talk about some of the things that are going to be happening between now and these later steps that we're just a little too soon on determining how debris removal and recovery is going to work.
Thank you for that question. Cleanup is a very detailed process. We want to ensure that there's proper safety precautions for the community and more so for the actual people who will be doing hands-on and handling whatever debris and products there may be that's involved with cleanup. There's always a process. There is always a review to ensure that before anything is procured, resources gathered, that everything looks good and safe and reviewed by the local authorities, the state authorities, and the federal authorities. In terms of timeline, ever since the incident started, plans were underway. Obviously, this is an incident of significant size. And there's building materials, there's debris, there's very detailed laws that ensure the safety of the community and workers. It'll take maybe, and I know we have information posted, I believe, through a Department of Emergency Management on our website in terms of a posted timeline. Review of materials may take about anywhere from months to up to a few months. And then cleanup may take a few months to maybe even up to 1 or 2 years, depending on whatever complications or issues that may arise. The good thing is, you have officials that are overseeing the process and that there is a procedure and that this isn't like the first time authorities have responded to issues regarding where cleanup is involved. And we have many partners involved. It's not just the county that is taking the burden for this, as well as the responsible party. Everybody has the goal of a safe and clean community, and that's what we're here to ensure.
Thank you for that. And then one other question that has come in is still a lot of questions about community sampling. And we've talked about additional testing and preparations for that. Are those preparations still in progress to conduct some additional sampling?
Yes. Community sampling is still in progress. We want to make sure that when we do execute our plans, we're using our time wisely and we're looking what we need to look out for. So that is underway. We've also posted information on that, and we're always available to answer any questions or concerns. We're not going away. We're here for everybody, and your local health inspectors, the Environmental Health Bureau, we respond many times to many concerns from the public. Spills, trash and debris, hazardous chemicals, even food safety in restaurants and markets. So, the whole gambit. And we're always here for the public. That's the standard service that every county has. And with regards to the scale of this type of event, you can pretty much bet we're not going away. We're here to for the long haul to address the concerns of the public.
Thank you, Rick. That's all the questions that I had received so far. Is there anybody else with a question for Rick before we move on to our next topic? Seeing none, Rick, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us a community update on this.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
So on to our next topic. Unsung watchdogs of local government accountability are members of the Monterey County Civil Grand Jury. If you have ever wanted to delve into understanding government and its services and working to improve government services, becoming a member of the Civil Grand Jury is a great opportunity. And lucky for you, recruitment for next year's grand jury is already underway. So we've got a fantastic assembly of people here to talk about the work of the grand jury and the value of the grand jury. And I'm not sure the order of things, but I'm going to announce who is joining us. And then I'm going to look to the Honorable Stephanie Hulsey to lead us off. So joining us is the Honorable Stephanie Hulsey with Monterey County Superior Court, but also members of the grand jury. We have Doug Smith, who's a current foreperson, and Marianne Howard, who is a former grand jury member, and Thomas Mastre, who's also a former grand jury member. First, thank you all for being here. And Judge Hulsey, I'm wondering if you would lead us off with a little bit about the grand jury.
Absolutely, I'm happy to. And thank you so much for having us here this afternoon. It is a true honor to be here as the court's advisor to the Civil Grand Jury. And as March is Civil Grand Jury Awareness Month, I do want to begin by thanking the members of our current Civil Grand Jury and really all of the individuals who have served our community in this capacity over the past decades. The Civil Grand Jury is not only a historic entity, but the requirement of the annual empanelment of a civil grand jury in each of our 58 counties is embedded in the California Constitution and in our penal code. And it's an important mechanism through which 19 community members oversee our local government institutions to ensure that our resources are maximized to support the best possible service to the public. The Civil Grand Jury is an independent body. Its proceedings are confidential. And as I think you indicated, it is considered oftentimes a watchdog over the actions of the city and county officials. It responds to citizen complaints, it conducts investigations, and has broad jurisdiction to access public officials, employees, and financial records of entities who are receiving public funds. Its annual report of its in-depth investigations, findings, and recommendations is published on our court and county websites, and government entities must respond to the findings and recommendations that apply to them. So I do encourage anybody who is interested in participating to take a look at those reports. The court, I, as the advisor, have always been very impressed with the quality of these reports, and they have resulted in changes to processes from some of our government institutions here. Ultimately, there will be 19 jurors who are appointed by the Superior Court, and they will serve for 1 year. We are looking for residents from all walks of life. They are encouraged to participate because the more diversity we have, the stronger the jury is due to the broad range of interests, talents, and life experiences that the jurors then bring to the civil grand jury. We are looking for people who have a passion for public service because this is a volunteer service, who have an interest in how local government agencies work, and are interested in making improvements and very importantly, can commit an average of 20 hours per week for an entire year. Once you take a look at the reports, you will see why 20 hours a week is required. The applications for this volunteer service are currently being accepted and will be accepted through May the 2nd, and that is for the civil grand jury that's going to be impaneled towards the end of our fiscal year. So they will begin their work on June the 30th of 2020, July 1st of this year, and then continue through June the 30th of 2026. So we also have interviews and informational forums that are going to occur on May the 7th at the Monterey Courthouse, May the 8th at the Salinas Courthouse, and May the 9th in the King City Courthouse. And as the work that the civil grand jury does is entirely confidential and secret, even from the court, with the exception of the public reports, of course, people who can provide the best insight are really the jurors themselves. So I would like to invite at this time our current foreperson, Doug Smith, to provide some remarks as to what his experience has been this year. And then, as you mentioned, Maya, we're so fortunate to have our former grand jury members, Tom Mastre and Marianne Howard, both of whom currently serve on the California Grand Jurors Association, the Monterey chapter. So, Doug, would you like to say a few words about your experience this year?
Thanks very much. It's really been an amazing experience. The response that the grand jury receives from the members of not only the county government but also the cities within the county is just exceptional. As you said, our work is confidential, so I can't really get into who we've spoken with, of course, but I would say across the board, everyone that we've reached out to has been incredibly responsive. I have more understanding of how local government works than ever before in my life. Some fascinating things about Monterey County, but also fascinating things about special districts and how the cities all work together. It's an amazing opportunity for anyone who's able to make that time commitment.
And so we also have some other members of the grand jury here. So I'm wondering if Marianne, you might continue and pick up where Doug left off and talk about your experiences and what other people might be able to experience.
Well, I was on the grand jury at the beginning of COVID. So it really turned everything upside down, and we went to Zoom meetings, which I think have become a really good tool in recruiting people from South County. It's quite a drive to get up, but it's been certainly helpful in our recruiting efforts. And I would say to all of you that are listening, we like to ask everyone to think about who in your life you think might be a good fit for the jury, or who amongst your colleagues could invite us to come and make a presentation. The judge has been wonderful in helping us and actually coming to our presentations that we've managed to put in order. We have actually an event coming up for all former grand jurors that we have contact information on June 30th, April 30th, whether or not they're part of our chapter, to bring them together, to give them the opportunity to recall what an amazing experience this is, and to ask them the same question I'm asking you. Who else do you think would be a good fit for this amazing opportunity? And it truly is an amazing opportunity for anyone that has the time and the inclination to get involved in this important work.
And Thomas, you're the last on the list. I'm hoping you can talk a little bit and expand more on what Marianne has talked about.
I'd be glad to. Thanks for the opportunity today. As a former member of the civil grand jury, it was an exciting opportunity to really learn about all branches of the local government, including the city governments. I think that the civil grand jury has the opportunity to see the local government in a way that very few people do. We see the breadth and depth of the government, and we're able to talk to pretty much anybody who's a city or a county employee. One thing that I would like to mention, on April 7th, we have a presentation that we're doing for the OSHA Lifelong Learning Institute and Ryan Ranch. And it's about an hour and a half long lecture that we do. And we talk about all different aspects of the civil grand jury. So if someone who's listening wants to get into more depth about what the grand jury does and how does it operate and what are some of the statutes that support it through California law, we get into that at that event. I would encourage anyone who has the time to do it to become to submit an application so that you can be interviewed to become a member of the civil grand jury.
Thank you all for sharing your experiences. If there's anyone with questions for any of on this topic, any members that are on this topic, and I see Sandra Ontiveros with our county counsel's office, who's also the liaison for the grand jury. Sandra.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for giving us this opportunity. It really opens it up for the public to have some say in what goes on in our local government. And I just want to repeat our deadline. Our deadline for the application is May 2nd. So if they could submit their application before that, it is a time commitment, and we look forward to having members of the public join this great public service where they get to learn more about our local government. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for reminding us of the deadline. And it is a time commitment. I think all of you have kind of talked about the work and being involved. And was the time commitment difficult for you to manage, or was it something that once you got into it, you were, the time just flew by and it was so interesting that you didn't worry about how many hours you spent?
Yeah, I would say that that once we got rolling, the time is really passing quickly. At the moment in our cycle where we're coming close to the end of the work, we're a little bit nervous about how little time we actually have. So it's time management is definitely a tricky thing with the civil grand jury, but it certainly does not drag. I can guarantee that.
And then one question that I do have is about the responses that the civil grand jury prepares. I know you can't talk, about what you're creating and the reports that are coming out, but as a member of the grand jury, how do you look at, you have to choose something, and then you're preparing a report, and these entities that are the subject of the report are going to be responding to you. How do you look at all of that in the big picture?
Mostly what we're looking to do is find a way for whatever entity that we're addressing to do its job a little bit better. We're trying to find a way to present our findings and recommendations in a way that we hope all of the citizens of Monterey County would look at and say, oh, yeah, that makes sense, given what they discovered about this situation. What they're recommending seems to make sense. And we're hoping that we can do our work in such a way that the agencies that we're addressing are happy to change the way they work a little bit and make things better for all of us.
Go ahead, Tom.
I'd like to give you an example of that. There was a report that examined the purchasing and contracting department of Monterey County, and some of the recommendations included improving the online training that the department required of government employees. About a year and a half after that, the request was that the Board of Supervisors provide money to support that effort. Turns out that effort was supported, and the training was improved. and brought more up to date. So there's an example of something that the grand jury recommended that was supported by funding and then actually happened.
And I also want to ask all of you, sometimes the topics that you pick are controversial, sometimes they're difficult, but you've also complimented agencies in the past for work that's been done. And I was hoping you might mention that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. In one of the reports that we're working on right now, not only are we making some suggestions about improvement, but we're also calling out some things that they're doing quite well. There are lots of things that are happening in the county that are going really, really well. And it's some of the matters that we started out receiving this year, we didn't end up pursuing because we found out things are just working fine. You know, there's nothing that we need to call out. But on the other hand, there was also nothing that was so exceptional that we felt like it deserved to be called out for its upside as well. In some ways, it's a little frustrating for the current jury that we don't have an easy way to sort of commend the people that are doing a really solid job for the citizens of Monterey County, in sort of a general way. I don't feel like I'm being super clear with this, but there are lots of people that we talk to in the course of an investigation who are just doing a really good job. And it makes me happy as a citizen of the county to know that that's happening.
Marianne, go ahead.
One of my favorite reports from another jury was in response to a letter of complaint that came in. And the letter was complaining about the fact that there were all these buses going around the county and they all appeared empty all the time. And, you know, what's going on? And isn't this a waste of money? And the report and the investigation found out that actually the buses are really well done. The real problem is that the service isn't very good at publicizing what a great service this is and how helpful it is to so many people getting to their workplaces, getting to their schools, and getting to their medical appointments. So I thought that was, again, an example of finding an agency that was doing a great job, but no one knew about it. So I was really happy that that was publicized.
But also that goes to the point where you're responding to somebody who sent in a concern,
Yes.
a complaint, and that's your role, is to accept that and to have people feel like there's a place to go if they have a real concern. And then they put it in your hands and you responded, perhaps not in the way that they expected, but really you did what was needed.
Yeah, and everybody was educated, the person complaining in the grand jury, and hopefully anyone that read the report.
And then one final question for you. We've noticed in the last few years that the reports have been bilingual. Do you feel that's really expanded the understanding of what the grand jury does and of course the information just going further?
Doug, you want to speak to that? I think you were on one of the juries that made that happen.
Actually, I'm not. I'm a first-time juror, so I was
Okay.
actually going to suggest that maybe Sandra or the judge would be better to address that.
Sure, I can go ahead and address that. I believe that it was the 2020-2021 civil grand jury, and they decided that was going to be one of the goals. That they made it happen. That was also just coming right out of COVID, and they still made that happen on time, on schedule, and apparently on budget as well. So we are very, very pleased that they did do that. And of course, moving forward, the intent is to continue to have the bilingual reports out. And it does reach a much broader population in our community. And that's important for everybody who may not have the time to go to a lot of city council meetings or any types of meetings And therefore, it's important to have this report so that everybody can have a better understanding of how our government entities are working.
Thank you all so much for being here. I don't have any other questions in chat. If there is a question, go ahead and quickly put it in. We're just going to remind people, and I'm going to learn my lesson from Sandra, is to remind people that the deadline is May 2nd to make your application. And there are 3 in-person events for people throughout the county to go and find out more. And then if they want to do the application, Sandra, jump in if I'm wrong, you can make your application online, but you can also make your application in person and paper if that is your preference. And all that information is available on the court website as well as our county website.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. No other questions for you all. Thank you so much for sharing about the civil grand jury today. And we're really keeping our fingers crossed you're going to get a great crop this year for the jury.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to our next topic. Hospitality is one of our county's top economic drivers, and workers are needed. Monterey County Works is often offers diverse training programs, and it is launching a program now that focuses on hospitality. There are opportunities for careers here, and we're very pleased to have our friend Michael Artalejo here from Monterey County Works. He's a job placement coordinator to talk about this new Cadre program. Hi, Michael.
Hello, thank you for having me. I appreciate the time to go over our program a little bit. So, yeah, like Maya said, through Monterey County Works, we want to provide training and career pathways for individuals to receive a sustainable and living wage here in Monterey County. And as she said, hospitality is huge along the Monterey Peninsula. And we want to encourage individuals that are looking for a new career pathway or have always been interested in hospitality. How do they get through that door? How do they get those opportunities? So we put together our hospitality cadre. It starts off with 3 weeks of training. They get their OSHA 10 certification, food handler certification, and also get a certificate for guest service professional from the American Hotel and Lodging Educational Institute. And while they're going through those weeks of training, they get paid a $35 a day stipend. They get their certificates and credentials, and at the end, while in that process, we do workshops for interview skills and resume building, and we partner with local hotels and restaurants to do an internship program. Once that training is done, the individuals will receive $17 an hour under this internship training program, about 36 hours a week, and that hourly wages will run for 7 weeks. And our hopes are that with this new set of skills or honing existing skills for these individuals, it gives them an opportunity for direct placement in the hospitality industry throughout Monterey County. We've started doing enrollments right now, where our program will start officially training on April 14th. And we hope that we can get the word out. We're always looking for partners to participate in the employment sector side of things. So additional restaurants and hotels, specifically in South County. We'd love to add more in that area also. Down South County, the gateway to the pinnacle. So we want to make sure that we're touching bases with all the members of our community. So that's our hospitality cadre. We're looking for referrals for our program. 18 to 24 years old is the age range, and that's all I have.
Michael, thank you so much for walking us through that. I would like you to talk a little bit more about the age range, because this is really targeted. The cadre programs have a wider range than people expect. They might think it's just for teenagers, but it really runs the gamut from teens to young adult who haven't maybe found that niche yet, or haven't gotten that first job that they were looking for, or just getting out of school and aren't really sure what the next step should be.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's what we're geared towards. Like you said, there's people that are coming out of school, some people that have graduated, and they're not sure what the next step is. And some of it is residual from the pandemic. You know, there's individuals that finished school, you know, online and didn't have a lot of interpersonal skills towards the end of their high school years. So it's an opportunity to bring them back to a group setting, interact with each other, learn those skills that were, you know, a little bit deficient during that time, and, you know, open that door for, you know, opportunities. Some people are just not sure what direction they want to go to. We always let them know that this is something that if you're interested in it, yeah, let's dive in deep. But it might be an opportunity for you to decide this is not what I'm interested in. And that's okay. You went through the process, you figured out that maybe hospitality wasn't for you. And then we'll move on to another career sector and always help the individuals go through that. But, you know, from 18 to 24 years old, there's so much going on in individuals' lives right now. You know, maybe family obligations took them off their career path, and now it's time to get back into that career path. So yeah, we want anyone who's interested to explore those opportunities. We have workshops for resume buildings, interview skills, financial literacy, you know, everything that they can, I like to use the term, put in their toolbox. So that way they're ready to go to work. And that's where the 18 to 24-year-olds come into play. You know, this is the future of Monterey County, and we want to make sure Monterey County is secure with employment and secure with individuals that give back to the community. And these are the jobs that we're looking to help train in.
And then, Michael, oftentimes the programs result in participants getting certificates, which can really help them move on, you know, within the sector that they're training in, whether it's hospitality or technology. Sometimes these certificates can be expensive to get, you know, on their own. So does this program have a certificate that can help launch people?
Yes, specific to the hospitality one, they will receive their OSHA 10 training for, you know, general knowledge with regards to workplace safety. So they will get that. They will get their food handler certification, so they'll know the proper processing of foods and storage and things of that nature. And then they'll also receive their certificate from the guest service professional. So those are three that are going to go in line with the hospitality. But all of our programs usually come with some sort of certification, whether it goes into HAZWOPER or PPE certification. We have other programs where they can go through and get CNA certification. So we're always trying to add. There's another program that we're trying to add into this hospitality one. It hasn't been officially signed off on yet, so I can't really divulge the information, but we're looking to add a fourth certificate to this hospitality program. And you know, all leading towards professionalism and entrepreneurship. That's what I can say about the other certificate that we're looking to add. So yeah, any of our Cadre programs that they come through, they're leaving with multiple certificates that also can lead to higher wages. You know, previous groups, we've had an individual get hired on for $1.50 more than the other individuals that were coming in without those certifications. So, and it's at no cost to the individual. So we're there to support all the way.
Fingers crossed on that extra certificate, because getting the job that you want and getting your foot in the door is one thing. Getting a better wage is a real plus for someone who's really looking to launch their career. One question for employers: what would you say to employers? What is the value of participating in the program at their end? Because you've got these people who want to start in this industry, but you do need a place for them to intern and learn.
So, I mean, financially, we're open and honest, saying that, you know, we're going to be paying their wages for training. So that takes a little bit of the financial burden off the employers. But we also instill mentorship and investing in their future of their organization. These are individuals that have come, they want to learn. They some of them, this is their first opportunity to learn. so they are able to be trained in the manner that the organization, really wants to work towards. They're so open-minded to learning new things. And then in an internship program like this, it's that mentorship kind of gives a little bit more than a traditional work experience, where it's a vested interest from the employer. I want to see this individual blossom here at our location, and the feeling and of being able to do that and be able to say at the end of the program, you know what? This individual needs to stay on. We need to hire this individual. We will be in a better place because this individual was right fit for our organization. And that's what our hopes are when it comes to the employers, that they see the value in the individuals themselves.
And then could you remind us of the deadline for people to apply for this cadre?
Yeah, I think we're leaving it open a little bit all the way up until April 14th. We'd be able to process and get you in the door there. So we've got about 2.5 weeks left in the enrollment process there. But we'll work hard and diligent no matter what to make it happen.
Thank you so much, Michael. I have no more questions. If there's any other questions for Michael, go ahead and put them in chat and I'll try to get them before we go. If not, I'll forward them to you. Thank you, Michael, very much for sharing. We always appreciate having you on and to talk about all the great programs that Monterey County Works.
I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
And thanks everyone for joining us on the news briefing this week. Our next